Well, after a quiet period of time, Bitcoin slid Thursday by the most in 10 days, falling in sync with US stocks as analysts warned that the market might be primed for a fresh drop. For more on this, we're joined by Matt Harry from DigitalX. Hello, sir. How are you today?
Very well, sir. How are you going?
Going pretty well. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Yeah, it's been a bit of an interesting time, fairly quiet in some respects, but what have you seen exactly?
Yeah, look, it has been, I would say it's fair to say it's been pretty quiet, but unfortunately at the moment, the technical picture is really not looking great. Most technicals on most timeframes are pointing lower. Encouragingly, occasionally in digital asset world, when you see all technicals and sentiment pointing in one direction and looking very clear which way we're going, we often see those as major pivot points in the market. A case in point or an example could be July of 2019, where the market had moved, Bitcoin market had moved from 3,000 US to 14,000 US. All the technicals were pointing higher. And of course, we all know we saw the market completely retrace that move over the following 12 months. So after a move like this, we do like to see volatility fall to really, really low levels before we can be confident that any sort of a base has been put in place and that we've found support. We have seen right now volatility is at historically low levels. So there's no doubt that there is a huge move coming in the very near future, but which way it moves is anyone's guess. We're still favouring top side, given that on-chain metrics are still looking extremely healthy. So we've seen the smart money has actually stopped selling. We're seeing longer-term holders in peak accumulation mode, and we are seeing coins moving off exchanges. So they're all very bullish signs, in contrast to a very bearish technical picture. But regardless, it's going to be a couple of very interesting weeks ahead in digital world.
Yeah, we'll watch that closely. You've, of course, spoken a bit about Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. So in the past, but now what are you seeing? Are there hints of inflation, and what could that mean for Bitcoin, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. We are starting to see inflation creeping into global economies. We had a 5% CPI reading in the US recently. We're seeing inflation creep up locally as the Australian economy reaches or moves towards full employment, or at least lower unemployment. And obviously oil prices still being at those elevated levels. So what do you do when interest rates are at zero and you're starting to see inflation coming into economies? You need to protect your wealth against erosion from inflation. So the traditional way that investors have done that has been to buy dividend yielding stocks and also to buy gold. But we believe those options now should be still, the pragmatic approach of buying dividend yielding stocks is still a very relevant one. But we think that given that Bitcoin is a better gold than gold, we think the second option should be to buy some Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. It is a finite supply asset. It is durable and divisible. And importantly, it has outperformed gold significantly over its entire lifespan. So we think there's a very compelling case for holding some Bitcoin as a environment.
And just finally, one of the main macro narratives, of course, has been around central bank digital currencies. This is, a moving one, I guess a slowly moving story. But what are the latest developments here?
Look, I think broadly you would say that central banks to move towards centrally issued forms of digital currency. Even as recently as this week, the ECB announced an acceleration in their program with a 2-year program with the goal of designing a centrally issued euro. China obviously has launched their centrally controlled digital currency. It's for limited use at the moment, only to be used in the Beijing subway for payments on the subway, but obviously slated for broader use at a later date. And interestingly, this week we saw one of the senior Fed officials state that perhaps rather than the US issuing their own central form of digital currency, the US may perhaps look at utilising one of the existing stable coins that's in the market. He believed that they are very much fit for purpose, which was a very interesting thing to say, and very much a case of watch this space.
Great wrap once again, mate. Take care. I know you're in Melbourne at the moment, as are we, so hopefully you've got something to do inside. I know. Hopefully next Tuesday we'll get out. No, agreed.
Indeed.
We'll chat really soon, mate. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Adrian. Bye for now.